Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the webinar, How to Get Unstuck in 5 Steps with our presenters, Laura Castaing and Carly Chase. My name is Lucy Sandell, and I'm the Senior Associate Director of Career Advancement for your Northwestern Alumni Association. We'll begin shortly, and we're so excited that Laura and Carly could present for us today. First, a few housekeeping tips I'd like to share with you. You'll notice on the right-hand side of your screen that there are a few different tabs. Please send your questions through the Q&A tab. We're saving time at the end of the presentation to answer these questions, so please send them in now and throughout the webinar. And I'm so glad people are already going into the public chat. Lastly, a link to access the recording of the webinar will be sent to all registrants later today. Now let's move on to why we're all here. Laura Castaing's career path started in engineering at Duke and led to 14+ years experience building startup businesses in senior operation roles across real estate, e-commerce, government, office management, and dating services. She now coaches successful entrepreneurs and professionals looking to create work that is fulfilling and gives them a lifestyle they love. Carly's career has spanned stints at big institutions like Goldman Sachs, the City of New York under Mayor Michael Bloomberg, and MIT, in addition to numerous NYC-based startups. Currently, Carly works at the Martin Trust Center for MIT Entrepreneurship, where she runs programs and coaches students across campus to be effective entrepreneurs. She's also a lecturer at the MIT Sloan School of Management. I'm thrilled to turn over the mic to Laura Castaing and Carly Chase. Thank you both.
Hi, everyone. I'm Laura. I'm going to be leading. Carly is also going to say hi.
Hi, everybody. Just sharing these worksheets with you. Everybody should have access now in the chat.
All right. So we're super excited. We're going to make sure you're all set up. This is Laura again. And welcome to How to Get Unstuck in 5 Steps. Lucy, thanks so much for that intro. We'll get in a little bit more on our bios, but it's helpful that you guys had some context before we got in. But just in terms of sort of getting us off the ground, one is you'll notice in the chat before we go into this, and you'll notice in the chat that Carly just sent a link to the Google Doc. These are worksheets that we're going to be walking you through. So take a minute and click on them. You should have access. If you don't, go ahead and chat. And you'll want to go up into basically File, and then from there, make a copy for yourself. So then you can actually fill these out. If you prefer, you can do this also from just basically looking at it and then writing it down on a piece of paper or notebook or just having it in your mind. But as you guys get that set up, we'd love to hear what city and state and country you will be in this weekend, because it's Thursday and we're almost the weekend. And I'm actually going to be in Utah. Where will you guys be? Okay, we have Illinois. Trisha, is that home for you? Chicago for Cecilia. Oh, that's in Chicago. Is everybody in Chicago in the same room? You guys just all came up together. Still, Illinois. This is Northwestern, obviously, so we do have a lot of representation. All right, Delaware. Oh, they're all sitting beside you. Hey, Lucy. I love that. That's why. Tri-Town. South Florida. Is that Crummy Burb? Is that a place? Illinois, possibly Wisconsin. Rockville. All right, all over the place. St. Louis. Charlotte. It's right. That's my hometown. All right. We're going to keep moving, but keep telling us where you are. That's also going to give you a sense. Give us a sense of if your chat's working. If you do hit a snag, you can chat us at any point. Carly's going to be monitoring the chat room. So if you do hit any issues with the Google Docs or anything, go ahead. And you can also email us at hello@thecrabwalk.com if all else fails. And let's go. We're going to give you a short, quick bio, and then the rest of this session is really going to be interactive and about you and how to get unstuck in 5 steps. But first, we'll give you some context. Carly's going to go first.
Hi, everyone. So Lucy gave a nice overview of my bio. So I'm just going to sort of share a couple things in the context of what we're about to learn, and really the reason that I started Crabwalk with Laura. So I attended Skidmore College in upstate New York. I worked really hard to get an internship at what was the top investment bank at the time, Goldman Sachs, and I did that by my 20th birthday. And I really thought that I was going to spend almost my entire career there. Was sort of my assumption that I would just, get in the door, which I had done successfully way earlier than I thought I could, put my head down, work super hard, and then just climb straight up a corporate ladder until I hit the management committee. That was really my dream at 20 years old. And then I lived through the financial crisis. I stayed a few more years, but I kind of looked around and said, I'm not really sure this is it for me. So with that, I started to sort of explore what else might be out there for me. And I took what we call my first step sideways, aka crab walking, because crabs walk sideways. And I ended up in government. I worked in city government here in New York for a number of years and then wandered more or less to the startup world. Now I work in academia. I teach entrepreneurship at MIT and coach a lot of student entrepreneurs, and then get to do a lot of fun stuff building Crabwalk with Laura. So you'll hear more of this sort of theme throughout the hour, but I'll let Laura take it back from here.
Yep. All right. So, and just some background on me. I love that this is Northwestern. I know there might be some people on here who aren't technically Northwestern alums, and we love you all the same. I'm so excited to have everybody here. I graduated from Kellogg in 2011 with my MBA, but this slide is basically me and my family in a lot of ways. My background was not super straightforward or linear. So now for the last 3 years, I've been a coach, specifically working with people through work transitions, and I coach 50% of the time, and then the other 50% of the time, I'm building Crabwalk and other ways of scaling what I'm learning on the coaching standpoint to more people, including, these webinars. But before that, my undergraduate degree was mechanical engineering. I worked in real estate after college for 4 years, got my MBA at Kellogg, and then worked in startups for the following 7 years up until I started coaching, really being in an operations or general management role, like scaling startups from 20 people to 200 people. And this framework that we're going to teach you today is really coming out of Carly and I navigating pretty not linear, not straightforward career path, but it's a framework that also got us unstuck along the way in pretty much anything that we've done. So anytime we sort of faced something we couldn't solve or just felt like we were isolated, didn't know we were the only ones dealing with it, whatever it was, we used this framework, and we're very excited to have you guys use this today specifically to get unstuck in one area. So what we're going to do for the next 50 minutes is really walk you through a 5-step framework that is going to be highly interactive. You're going to actually spend most of the time working on something that's really significant and important to you, whatever that is. We're going to give you some tips and tricks that you can walk away with, and we're going to spend some time doing Q&A at the end for any extra stuff and some next steps. And then our goal for this session is that you really leave feeling unstuck and with a much clearer mind on at least one area. And then that framework is something that you'll be able to use in other ways. Just one note on the Q&A, there are already some things coming in, you can actually put something in the Q&A section, but you can also feel free to chat them directly into the chat. And there'll be some times when we're going to ask questions, and we highly encourage you to actually participate and walk through this framework. So just so you get a high level sense of what we're about to do, our framework is, we're not the only ones who come up with it. It's our 5-step framework that you guys have probably done parts of. So the first step is you come up with what's your ideal outcome. The second step is what have you already done towards that. Step 3 is where are you currently stopped. Step 4 is how can you get unstopped, and step 5 is when will you realistically do this. So that's going to make a lot more sense in a little bit. But first, again, just make sure you're using the worksheet. Now, can everybody just put into the chat, yes, you guys have access to the worksheets and you're ready to go, or no, you have a question or need some help. You can take just a minute or 10 seconds to put that in the chat. That'd be really helpful. You can also raise your hand. You can emoji. That's how I feel right now. All right, Bennett, we see that. Morel, we see that. We're going to send those through again. Carly's about to send them. There she goes. Jordan's got it. 10-4 in access. I love that. All right. If you have any trouble, go ahead and chat in here, and Carly's going to be manning the chat, so she'll make sure you get connected. But just the 2 other notes, make sure you participate. This is awesome so far. You'll get the most out of it for yourself if you participate, but obviously no need to do anything you don't want to do. And 2 is minimize distractions. So Carly and I love to do this. Take a second and just, if you need to turn off your phone or mute notifications on your computer, the idea for that is you're going to get the most out of it if you're really able to focus on this. So that's what our intention is. So if there is one thing that you can do to help you be here fully, that's what we recommend you do. All right, we're going to get started. So step one of when you're stuck on something, this is always, always, always the most foundational piece that we always come back to no matter what. So it's the first question we ask, which is, what is my ideal outcome? So what do we mean by that? Your ideal outcome is whatever you want to have happen in your work, in your dreamland. This is something that can work outside of work, but for today, we're just focusing on work. That can be your career, that can be your job, that can be a side hustle, anything that's work related, just for the purposes of today. But think about ideal outcome literally in the ideal sense, not what you think is possible, not what you think you can do, but really actually allow yourself to go into a dreamland. What would, in this particular area of your life, what would an ideal dreamland outcome be? So these are some common hangups that typically when we say this, or when people start to think about what their ideal outcome is, this is what they start to hit. So maybe you're thinking in this one area, like, by the way, just to give you examples, your area could be that you want to get a promotion. Your area could be that you're not sure how to finish a project by the end of tomorrow. Your area or the place you're stuck is that you want a career switch and you're not sure what to do. Or it could be that, you want to have a conversation with someone in your office and you're not sure how to do it. It can be, those are all sort of places where people get stuck, and there's a lot more. But common hang-ups when I say ideal outcome can be, wait, what would the ideal outcome be? I need to have a big goal or it's not worth it. I can't set a goal because I don't know what I want. If I put a goal down, I can't change it. If I fail, I'm a failure and I don't know where to start. So again, is there these are things that we're going to talk through, but the goal for now is really for this exercise, you're going to define one goal for the next 90 days. That's one area, like in where you're stuck, one thing that would be an ideal outcome. So in the worksheet, you'll see step 1. What is my ideal outcome? So, the example we have in there is have total peace of mind that I'm exceeding expectations of my job and on track to get my bonus. That would be one ideal outcome. So go ahead right now on step 1. Think, what problem or opportunity do you see in your work that you would love to see addressed? And think about how would this impact you and those around you if you actually addressed it. Success for this is writing a goal down. Your goal can be getting clarity on what you want. And you want to make sure it's actually SMART. So the acronym, specific, measurable, it's achievable, it's relevant, and it's time-oriented. So go ahead. We're going to give you about a minute to write that down. And think about what would be in that one area you're stuck, what would be like a really awesome outcome. And Robert, I know I just saw that you have firewall issues. So if anybody doesn't have the worksheet, you guys can still do this on a piece of paper. So don't so much worry about the worksheets if you haven't gotten access yet. And Lydia, it doesn't matter if you're on a Mac either, but Carly's got you going for that. So as you guys are writing, some of you might be done, some of you might still be noodling, some of you might be hitting some of those obstacles. I'm just going to bring those back. So I'll give you just another, as you're finishing up, I'm just going to give you another couple, ideas. So think about it like if maybe one thing you're stuck on is you have a really big project and you're not sure how to get the resources for it, and you haven't been able to yet. An ideal outcome 90 days from now is that you've actually gotten all the resources, or that you've gotten approval, or that you've gotten help, that kind of thing. So we'd love to hear from you guys. What are the ideal outcomes that you came up with? You can type them in the chat. That would be really helpful. And I can also, if some of you guys have questions, or if I think that there's something that could make it easier for you as you share, I will definitely add that in. So what are your ideal outcomes? All right, do we have any ideal outcomes? Yep, going back to the last slide. This one, Jordan. All right, well, while you guys are typing those, Sam said her ideal outcome, saying creating an automatic report to pull data that takes hours to do manually. Yep. Robert, I have received awesome feedback on my book, currently in draft state, and I am ready to consult professional editors, publishers. So that's awesome, Robert. That'd be very cool. Audrey, new job by January that pays well, has variety, a place to grow and lead, great cultural fit, excited about the company and the role in a city I like, with variety, teamwork, and where I respect leadership. Audrey, everything you just said, I love. So specific, really clear on what you want. It's definitely dreamland. I love it, and it's totally, by the way, doable. New job, Edna, great. If you want to get more specific, Edna, on like what that would look like, Audrey's got some examples that you can make that your own. Like in 90 days, you can get specific. Like I want a job that makes me incredibly happy. I want a job that I have peace of mind around. Versus, by the way, if you just say I have a job, maybe you'll get a job but actually really hate it. So get specific on your dream world. Anita, I feel I'm stuck in a work environment that's negative and I'm leading strategic planning and I'm struggling with outcomes that are just relevant for me. So Anita, what would be an ideal outcome there? It sounds like maybe you're either have a way to make the environment more positive. Let's see, I'm struggling with outcomes that are just relevant for me. Yeah, Anita, how would you rephrase that in a way that, what would in 90 days, if you were to close your eyes and wake up in 90 days, what environment would you be in? What would you have solved? What would that look like? All right, just a few more of these. Erica gets after fellow pilot, that's great. Yep, all of these are great. All right, we're gonna keep moving, but these are awesome, thanks for sharing. So now that you have an ideal outcome, step 2 is going to be about assessing what you've already done. So this part's really important for the idea that basically you want to really kind of give yourself credit for what you already have in place towards reaching your goal. So this can be, I've, signed up for this webinar. That's one thing that you've done specifically towards achieving your goal. So in step 2 of the worksheet or on your piece of paper, wherever you are, you want to look at what have I already done. You can think about what's been working. You can think about what have I tried. Who have I talked to? What have I done on my own? Have I researched anything? What skills do I already have? Anything, big or small, we want you to basically go to town. So go ahead and write those down, and then we'll share in about 20 seconds. All right, some things, other things that you guys might have come up with, and if you can start to share, again, what's one thing that you've already done, or you can include multiple. What's one thing that you want to acknowledge you've already done? So like it could be if you're looking for a job or you want to have a new job, maybe you've actually had a conversation with a friend about it. Maybe you've also opened up your resume and looked at it, even if you haven't updated it yet. Yep. Carly's added in some things in there. Rachel interviewed some 2 sources for the story. By the way, Anita, great response, and outcome maybe you become more comfortable with negative perspectives or remain confident to do the work. Yep. It's a mindset shift, Anita. That's a great way to put it. So Arik is contacted lots of potential employers, updated the resume, posted online. That's great. Yep. Created updated resumes, created a framework for the automatic report. Lots of really great stuff in here. You might get ideas from other people. Praying, yep. Building my writing portfolio and taking classes. Okay, these are awesome. These are all things that you're doing that are already in place towards reaching your goals. So step 3, you want to look at, well, where are you getting stopped? So think about this from the perspective of, as you think about reaching your goal, what comes up that stops you or that is preventing you in your mind from reaching that goal? And here you're going to look at this spreadsheet, step 3, where am I stopped? And you'll notice on the spreadsheet, but you can do this on a piece of paper, to be a row for, there's 3 rows on this example. You want to put one specific concrete area that stops you in each row. It's like put it in its own box. So for step 3, list one thing that stops you in each row and ask yourself these questions. What open questions do I have? What am I worried will happen? What skills am I missing? What connections am I missing? What happens when I try and work on this? So go ahead and take 30 seconds and think about, where are you specifically getting stopped? All right, so some things, by the way, that Carly and I have talked about a ton, some things are really tactical, like you're actually missing support. You're actually missing, skills in Excel. Maybe you're missing a connection to a company you really want to work at, or you're missing the skill set on how to make a connection. But other things can be a lot more mindset or emotional or unclear. So it could be anxiety. Like you think about, what stops you is literally you go into a space of anxiety. That is me and was me for a long time. When I was thinking about, having to navigate from my last startup 3 years ago, a lot of what stopped me from even thinking about it was just fear and anxiety of what it would mean if I left that startup at the time. So that's one thing concrete, is anxiety. Another thing can be like just imposter syndrome or confidence level, or it could be what's stopping you is, there's a few in here already, like conflicting interests or people outside of your control. So take a minute and share in the chat. I know some of you have already started. Like, what's one thing that has you stopped? Yeah, so we have, Elaine, yep, doubt myself and my future purpose. I feel like that's so common. I want to say like 90% of the population, but that might be an exaggeration. But yeah, just doubting yourself, whether it's warranted or not, and it's usually never warranted. That's a big thing that stops people. Conflicting priorities, balancing inclusiveness with people who really will work with good energy. Yep. Fear of failure, filling out applications, fear of a poor fit. I get incredibly tired and want to nap. Audrey, yes, I totally get it. It's overwhelming, and a lot of times it makes sense to just be like, I'm going to close down my computer and go sit in my bed. And then the work doesn't get done. And then I'm logging in late. And so let's see, Lisa, you got Carly good doing that, setting you up. Lack of visibility and connections, unposted executive positions. See, that's a great one. Growth mindset. So what's missing, Elaine, would be what's stopping you is not having a growth mindset. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you mean by that. But you can see that some of this stuff is mental, some of this stuff is emotional, some of this stuff is more tactical, like not having a connection, lack professional connections in the health industry, Robin. Yep, that kind of stuff. So just take a note. And one thing to be sure, make sure it's, so like Jeffrey, for example, the real estate market is already saturated. What I would say is, one thing if you're, and it'd be great to hear if you're going, what kind of real estate you want to go into, but hypothetically, let's say you want to sell real estate in your local, local area, and it's already saturated. One thing that's stopping you is potentially the fear that you're going to launch and not get business, or what's stopping you is not knowing how to stand out and not knowing how to carve out your own space. So try and make it as specific as possible. All right, we're going to keep going, but keep sharing. And if you have questions, obviously, definitely go in the chat. Carly's responding as we go. Step 4, then you're going to look at how could I get unstuck. So unstuck, I don't even know if that's technically an English word, but we're making it one. Unstuck is the thing that's going to actually remove that blocker for you. So in the worksheet, in step 4, you can see it says, how could I get unstuck? So in the box to the right of that one thing you said, or the 2 or 3, whatever it was, you're gonna write what could potentially help you to unblock you or unstop you. So think about, what could you do for yourself? What could others do for you? And one major thing is recognizing, don't limit yourself to just what you personally know you can do. So, for example, if what you're missing are connections to people in the health industry, then what would help you are, what would help me is to have one person who's already in the healthcare industry, maybe talking to them about how to make connections in the healthcare industry. Or maybe what would help me is to schedule one networking event with someone I already know that's in the health space so I can meet people there. Or what might be helping you is you are not confident in how to make new connections. And so what would get you unstopped is actually learning the tools or the skill set to make connections from nowhere in a new industry, which is, believe it or not, its own industry for skill. So go ahead and take a minute and write down what for each one, and you can do at least one, what's something that's getting you stopped, and what's one thing that could help you get you unstopped in that area. Yep. All right. That's hire professional resume writer is the best. If you're someone who you've been stopped because you're overwhelmed by your resume, you're not sure how to tell your story, you're not sure how to overcome certain obstacles like having gaps in your resume or having a lot of jobs in disparate industries, a coach or a resume writer can absolutely be your partner and help you solve for that. So one way to get unstopped would be to hire a resume writer, which, by the way, is somewhere between $100 and $400. Then you can do it on Upwork, or you can do it. There's lots of options. I actually have a few recommendations if you guys want them. Let's see. So take a minute and write. Share in the chat. What's the one thing that could help get you unstopped in one or two of your areas? So Jane, I know you mentioned you want to do something fulfilling after 25 years of raising kids, but your husband wants to travel, lack of confidence, fear of time demands, I'm not used to, no clue what I want to do. Yeah, so those are actually 4 different concrete ways in which you're getting stopped, if you put them, one in each row. And just in terms of what would get someone like you, Jane, unstopped could be, for your husband, the one about your husband, having a fulfilling project, whether that's paid or not, whether that's a volunteer or a job. The thing that would get you unstopped could be learning about opportunities that would allow you to still travel. So for example, I'm a coach. I work remotely primarily, and I did that on purpose because my family's all over the United States and I can't be limited to New York City. So I can technically do my job from anywhere in the world, and I did that on purpose. There's lots of jobs where you could work either remotely or only work part of the year or part of the week or take months off at a time. So maybe, Jane, yes, looking at what opportunities. So Lydia, you said I'm not getting any responses to my applications. So what would help you get unstopped there would be potentially having someone look at your applications and look at how you're applying and giving you feedback. And I know Lydia Carly just responded to some of that. Nancy, how you're stuck, limited network connections due to poor socializing skills, always putting foot in mouth, not sure how to get over that. Ooh, great one. So super common. And Nancy, just in terms of how to get unstuck, one idea for that is, I'll give you what's worked for me. One is I think it's just tactically, you could take a class on this. You could take a public speaking class. You could take a an actual you can actually improvisation classes are really good for this. Just classes where you could Google what would help me is some sort of class that helps me actually develop my social skills in these settings. The other thing I would say is confidence. I put my foot in my mouth, but I usually don't. It doesn't impact me quite as much, and that has a lot to do with confidence and sort of feeling good in your skin. So, I'm sure your socializing skills are probably not as bad as you think, to be honest. So maybe that's another thing that could unstop you is working with someone who can help you in that area of confidence. Edna, challenged to get into the new industry after years in one, have networked and asked how others made their transition. Yeah, that's a great way to get unstopped. Is networking and looking at other people who have made transitions, especially since switching industries is so much more common now. All right. So these are great. We're going to keep going. So step 5, the last step, this ties it all together, is when will you realistically do this? So think about it as in you come up with this, you know your goal, you know what you need to, where you're getting stopped, you know what would help you get unstuck so you keep moving towards your goal. But now you actually want to make sure you do it. And you want to be really authentic to yourself and what works for you. So when will I realistically do this? So in the spreadsheet, step 5, or again on your notebook, or whatever you're writing, write down when exactly will you do it? So when you're thinking about this step, you can go ahead and start if you want, but these are a couple guidelines. So one is get specific. Think about who is involved, when you will talk with them, and what exactly you need from them. So for example, you know, if you want to get a connection in the healthcare industry, you know, just because I used that one before, who could be involved would be, you know, my friend Sonali, who used to work in the healthcare industry. And I'm going to email her once I get off this webinar, and I'm going to ask her if she can spend 20 minutes chatting with me. And what I need from her is the 20 minutes and her advice on how to get connected to the industry. So get really specific. Second tip is to use systems you already have. So if you use your calendar, use your calendar. If you use a to-do list, use your to-do list. If you use, like for me, I love Apple reminders when it's, you know, something that is like a one-off reminder that I need to do. So use systems that already work for you. And then the last thing is do it your way. So be authentic to you. I'm someone who does really well with outside accountability. So if someone, my personality type, if I told somebody I'm going to do something, I'm much more likely to do it than if I just tell myself. So I have people who hold me accountable. Carly's someone who I ask to hold me accountable. And then be genuine, be real, be earnest, be yourself. Those are our tips. So write down again for each one of these step 5, write down when realistically you'll do this and like who is involved and how you're going to make sure you do it. So go ahead and chat. You can write just what system you use to stay organized, or you can also tell us what you're committing to. Like, what's the one thing that you're going to do when you leave this webinar that's going to help you get unstuck? So Audrey said, call my friend today right after this call and propose we hold each other accountable. If so, explain proposed timing and idea for negative consequences. Pretty sneaky to have it put this all in writing. I love it. Audrey, that's great. So Carly and I meet every Thursday, and I will literally tell her at the end of every Thursday, what I owe her for the next Thursday, and she does the same, and it does miracles for us moving things forward. Jeffrey's going to set a phone calendar reminder too. Yep. What else do you guys have? Let's see. So Gail, I saw you said, I'm fortunate to have the idea and resources or need to map out a new business idea. Just need the discipline to plan and execute while working a full-time and taxing job. So one thing, Gail, that works, again, you know, for, that's like something that, you know, is more concrete than I need discipline, because that's tough, is you could actually say, like, what would get me unstuck or would help me with discipline would be setting aside, you know, an hour each weekend where I'm mapping this out. And if you have people in your life that can help you do that, you know, it's going to be like, maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a friend, you know, you can have them help you set that time aside. So this works really well for parents, especially when, you know, they have kids and they want to work on something. It can be like every, you know, Tuesday or, you know, Tuesday after work or every Saturday morning, somebody, you know, agrees to take care of the kids so that they can spend 2 hours at the, you know, at like a Starbucks or at the library working on that one project. What else do you guys have? So Cecilia, like Jordan, I'm not quite sure what I want my next chapter to be, but I'm starting with the low-hanging fruit and rolling things out. Yep. So Edna, you're a note taker. Use Microsoft Notes to organize my day, assemble contact info, set goals, keep notes, and even bitch about the highs and lows of a job search. Yep. I love that. I used to write all of my mental thoughts into a Word document when I was thinking about leaving my job. That was just one way of helping me process my thoughts. Lydia, call a few people I know who work at places I would like to work. So Lydia, can you get more specific? Like, is there one person that you can call that works at a place you like? Yeah, Jeffrey, work with my wife to watch our son while I work on these goals. So what's the specific ask? What I would ask Jeffrey is, when are you talking to your wife about this, and what are you specifically asking of her? I also love bullet journals, although I have my own modification of it. So Eric, I need more focused discipline. I want to get things done, but when I sit down to work, I'm wasting time trying to figure out what I want to work on. So what I try to do is make a list the night before so I can just start when I'm ready to work. Yep. So Erica, what's one thing specifically that, would help you with more focused discipline? Is it that you actually have to send your to-do list to a friend every night? Is it that you have to, at the end of the week, you're sending somebody an update? Is it that if you're me, I'm more focused and more likely to do something if I have really delicious food around me? So I will prep my to-do list while eating my favorite kind of pasta. Whatever works for you. So Carly just put the note bullet journal. That's like a really fun rabbit hole of organizational tools. If you're interested, it's really phenomenal if you find getting overwhelmed with the amount of stuff you're doing every day, even if you take your own version of it. So these are all great. And I'm going to make one last note because a lot of you have mentioned discipline. Discipline is it's the idea that basically when I hear that, I'm saying you guys are being really hard on yourself, saying I should do better, I should do more, I should be more able to do this. So what I encourage you guys to do is reframe it. It's like there's a level of guilt, there's a level of shame, there's a level of personal resentment that comes with this idea of discipline. So instead of viewing it as a failing, or instead of viewing it as I just need to be more disciplined, view it as what would help me more consistently do this action? Yeah, Jordan, I totally get it. So instead of saying I need more discipline, I need to be more focused, I need to stop messing up, I need to stop being so lazy, I need to stop, none of that. I really encourage you guys to completely eliminate that vocabulary from everything that you do. And instead, ask yourself the question, what would help me do this action more consistently? All right. And by the way, one thing that you guys can do before we move on as one action is you can put on a Post-it note on your computer or in a calendar reminder that shows up every morning. This is what I do. Ask yourself the question, calendar reminder, what would help me do this action more consistently? That's great, Jeffrey. Yep. I don't know, we speak to ourselves. All right, so let's keep going. So key takeaways. We just wrapped up the five-step framework. We're going to be around to answer all questions. And I know there might be some that are, if you guys put them into the Q&A, we'll check that in a second. But takeaways is really this. The framework is super, super simple. You could print this out. You can put this on your fridge. And at the top, write, am I stuck? If yes, do these 5 steps. So 1 is, do you have a clear goal? So define a clear goal. 2 is audit what you already have. 3 is get specific about what's stopping you. 4 is create really simple actions. 5 is support yourself in following through on those actions. It's really clear that you frame it as, what can I do to support myself? So that's it. And then you rinse and repeat. Carly and I now have gotten this to the point where we use this all the time throughout the day without question in pretty much everything that we do, and we don't even know we're doing it anymore. It's just there. It runs our days. So we're here to answer questions. If you do want extra support, you can email us at hello@thecrabwalk.com. And it can be an update on today. You can ask us to hold you accountable. I'm not kidding. Or you can just say hi. We would love, love, love to hear from you. So hello@thecrabwalk. and maybe Carly can put that into the chat also and pin it. And then you can also, if you're interested in more of our programs, we run these webinars on a regular basis with various partners. We're super grateful for Lucy having organized this with us. But there's this, we do variations, so it's not just this. We do other webinars. We also do a 5-week workshop that's more, focused coaching, group coaching, and training programs and things. We have free content. We're going to be putting up potentially an online course in the next couple months. So our goal is the more people we can share this with in a really effective way, the happier we are. And if you're interested in staying up to date on what we do, just sign up for the newsletter at the bottom on thecrabwalk.com. And I think that's it. So any questions, any thoughts, anything? You want this one, Marilla? Is that what it is? Is that the one you wanted? What can we answer? Anything? I'm gonna look and see if there's anything in the Q&A. No. Lucy, I don't know if you had anything either. Thanks, Nancy. Oh, this one? Hold on. That one? Resume writers. Yep, 1 second. Let's pull up resume. Anything else? Oh, you want the 5 steps? This one? This one. All right. These, what I'm going to send to you guys right now. Ignore the one that says this is what you to use, but those two are two resume writers that people have worked with. And you need to find the ones that work for you, though. So make sure you guys, interview them, know what you want to get out of them, and make sure you don't settle for anything less than what you want. I agree, Lisa. I love how much you guys shared. So real. There was a question on tips on how to stay consistent. Staying consistent in terms of Erica, is that something in terms of consistent on being able to do the actions? I'll answer that, but if that's not what you meant, let me know. So if you want to stay consistent, so I'll tell you what works for me. And actually, I'm going to drop this in too. So what works for me is my personality type, as I mentioned, and this is what I mean by what works for me, is you want to actually start to understand how you work best. But what works for me is I've identified that, like I said, I do really well when other people expect things of me. I don't do them quite as well when it's just me committing to myself. So as another example, I wanted to work out more from an exercise standpoint, but I tend to be pretty all over the place in terms of my schedule, and I like that. So it's hard to get into routine. But what I ended up doing was signing up for a volleyball group that I can opt into whenever I want to. And I love the people and I love showing up. So that's one way where once a week I now work out volleyball. Other things to stay consistent in terms of the work that you do is setting aside a block of time, and again, doing it in a way that's consistent, and other people can hold you accountable, or maybe you bribe yourself like I do with food or coffee or a nice setting, getting into more of a routine. Yep. And I will say this, there's a lot of stuff, actually just sent this out, there's a lot of stuff that you can look at in terms of building habits that's actually really useful. So I'm going to send you guys one article right now. One thing that you can look at, Erica, is actually anchor habits.
And Erica, I'm just going to jump in while Laura's sharing that. This is Carly. So one thing I have found really, really useful is putting a lot of guardrails around me. So what I mean by that is, instead of hoping that it'll just become a habit or, just sort of by magic, I would say. I typically have to set my goals much more in shorter increments, and so it's really digestible. And this really helps me sort of like to see it and believe it, if that makes sense. So what I specifically mean is, for the next 5 days, can I do X? Can I take 10 minutes either when I get up or at 6 p.m.? And if I can do something for 5 days, then maybe I can extend it to 10 days. And so sort of making them much smaller, digestible goals will help over time create that habit. But I really don't believe that habits can just sort of happen. I think you have to be really, really specific about how to actually make them a reality. I hope that helps.
Yeah. And last one on Erica, and then I want to answer Stuart's question. Erica, I would actually Google also. There's some really good articles. If I could find it right now, I would. But there's writers specifically, like different routines that writers have, and they're so vastly different. But you might get inspired by that. Like writers talk about how there's like one article that lists out all these famous writers and their routines. Some of them get up every morning at 5 a.m., which is not possible for me. Other people will spend 1 day a week where they go to a conference room or something, and they tell everybody in their life they're not available, including their family, and they write for 12 hours. So, you can think about what works for you. And then Stuart, your question on how does one identify legitimate qualified coaches to interview among the sea of amateurs and posers out there? So I'll tell you from my experience, because I am a coach, but I also hire coaches for myself. I find coaching for myself to be obviously very helpful. And I say obviously because I believe in it. But what works for me is I start by identifying what I actually want to get out of coaching. So what is it that I'm missing, or what is it I want? Is it accountability? Is it accountability plus clearing my head? Is it specifically business knowledge? Is it helping me transition into a specific, area? Is it helping me? Is it a life thing? Am I trying to get through something? Am I trying to lose weight? Whatever it is. So think about first, again, what's your ideal outcome? And then you can look at, it's ironic we're going to use the framework, but, what's stopping you is not knowing what good coaches are out there. So one thing that I do is, that is a simple action, is I ask for recommendations. So I will go to my network. I'll send an email to 10 people and I'll say, hey, I'm looking for a coach specifically for these 3 things. Do you know anybody? And you'll get recommendations from people who have actually worked with them, who've heard of them, who've been vouched for. So that really narrows the field down. And then I personally look at their websites and I see, do they resonate with me? Do I get their tone? Do I agree with them? It's pretty clear. I kind of just follow my gut. Some of them I just don't think embody the same values I have, and others I'm can't wait to talk to them. And then the last step is interview them. So every coach, I always recommend that, you do an intro call, and I don't think a 10-minute intro call. I think a 30 to 60-minute intro call for free. And, you want to really use that as a way to see, do I see myself working with this person? Do they understand what I'm actually trying to accomplish? And then have they given me confidence that they would be able to help me go through that? And then you work with them. And so that's what I would recommend in terms of, and you can also ask, again, for references. You can ask for examples of success stories. You can ask for their methodology. And that usually helps you weed out people who are not your style or aren't as qualified in an area you're interested in. Does that answer your question, Stuart? Anything else on that? Okay, or any other questions? Just in the few minutes we have left. Let me see. Thanks, Stuart. Stuart, you can also email if you have any questions. And I can follow up with more on that. I just put that in there. I'm also at, Thanks, Cecilia. All right, any other last questions? Anything goes. All right. Lucy, do you have anything?
I'm overwhelmed by the amount of engagement that you have, both of you have managed to create on this webinar. It's amazing. Thank you so much, Laura and Carly. This has been a really insightful webinar. And I feel like I should also be thanking Rachel and Jordan and Erica and Stuart and Lydia and Jeffrey and Carl and Lisa and Marilla and Anita, Audrey, Rich, Nancy, Edna, Chad, Cecilia. All of you have been so wonderful, and thank you so much for staying with us. I know an hour of your day is a lot, so I really appreciate it. But thank you again, Laura and Carly. This has been an amazing webinar. Really, really appreciate it.
So glad. I'm so glad, Lucy. Thanks so much for hosting us. Jordan, you're not a bloody mess. I promise you. I want you to take that language out of your vocab.
Yeah. I always think, don't say things to yourself that you would never say to your best friend.
Yep.
You'd never say that to your best friend.
Totally. Jordan, if you ever need a reminder, just email us and we'll tell you that. And Edna, just a really quick thing on the goals thing, but again, you can email us if we don't get too far, and then we're gonna wrap it up just because we want to get you guys out on time. Just to clarifying your goals, one really tactical tip I have. I actually do a visualization exercise that I learned a couple years ago, but I'll set a timer for 2 minutes and I'll close my eyes and I will actually imagine myself standing on the day of, like, let's say 90 days out, so January 1st or January whatever, and I picture what would my life be in a dream world. Like, what would I be doing? What would I be saying? What would I no longer be worrying about? And a lot of times just that 2-minute exercise lets my brain wander in such a way that I get clarity of, like, oh, that's what I want. And that can be used for 90 days or that can be used for 4 hours from now. So the 2-minute exercise is a clear one. And the other thing you can do is obviously, like, talk it out with a friend and have them help you get clarity. All right. Thank you guys so much. We've enjoyed this a ton. We would love to do this again. We love this. So thank you again. If you have any questions, again, just email us. The email address is at the top. Sign up for the newsletter. You can always unsubscribe. We don't spam. We spend, at most a couple emails a month. And we'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, have a wonderful rest of your Thursdays, wherever you are.
I'm definitely going to sign up for your newsletter. And everyone, have a great rest of your day, and go Cats.
Bye.
Bye.